Welcome to the show. In this episode, we're going to take a look at some interesting tidbits about the aviation industry and why things are the way they are, which relates to public relations in a way, where perception doesn't always meet reality. It depends on how the PR expert or professional is able to weave the yarn and tell the story in the way they want you to receive it, right? And paint their client or their company in a positive light in order to gain more exposure and brand recognition for whoever they're representing. So before we dive right in, please head over and support us at buymeacoffee.com/SamsonKing. We'd really appreciate it. So let's dive right in. So this is why flight attendants sit on their hands during takeoff. I'm sure you've wondered that, and so have we. You'll notice when it's time for takeoff after the announcements, flight attendants will sit down and sit on their hands during takeoff. But let's look at why they actually do it. Hope this is enlightening. Flight attendants aren't just there to serve food and beverages. Their comprehensive safety training, many hours of experience help to ensure that we all reach our destinations safely. For the vast majority of flights, the journey passes without incident. But still, you may have noticed a few of the procedures and precautions that form part of their working routine, like when flight attendants sit on their hands during takeoff. So, we're going to discover the reason why that happens, and some of the other steps flight attendants take to keep passengers safe. So why do flight attendants sit on their hands during takeoff, we ask? Flight attendants take their seats only after they've completed their final checks on passengers and secured the cabin. They pull down a jump seat and buckle up, and then they often sit on their hands. It is part of the brace position, which also includes ensuring feet are placed flat on the floor and the head is positioned so that it remains as steady as possible. These actions are designed to ensure that, in the event of an emergency, a flight attendant's body would remain relatively rigid. This also means, should turbulence occur, there is much less likelihood of the kind of injury that could be caused if their arm was suddenly flung into a bulkhead or seat. It's good practice as flight attendants need to be fully mobile to look after their passengers most effectively during an emergency. The cabin crew must know specific details about each aircraft type. There are myriad types of aircraft passengers fly on, and they are all configured differently inside. So, it's vital that flight attendants know each different cabin inside and out. For the same reason, passengers should also read the safety card even if they fly frequently. Many of us don't. We're guilty of that. As well as undergoing extensive training, members of the cabin crew meet on board as a team a few minutes before passengers join them for a briefing. This covers any points of note about the aircraft itself, such as the location of emergency exits and how they open, as well as the seating configuration. The lead flight attendant or cabin manager will also pass on other relevant information, such as the expected weather during the flight, which could potentially influence the amount of turbulence. Pre-flight checks of emergency equipment are also carried out. So while the pilots are going through their pre-flight checks in the cockpit, each member of the cabin crew is tasked with their own checklist. This happens before every flight and includes completing an inventory of the emergency equipment on board to make sure it is stowed correctly, hasn't been tampered with, and is in full working order. Some of this gear forms part of the aircraft itself, such as emergency exit signs and smoke detectors, while other equipment is portable. For example, the flight attendants will check the presence of life jackets under each seat and safety cards in the seat pockets. They'll also test the public address system to make sure that it is operational and take a look through the plane to confirm items such as fire extinguishers, first aid kits, defibrillators, and oxygen cylinders are located where they should be. It's an important safety step because if such equipment was needed during the flight, wasting even a small amount of time could have serious consequences. More checks as flight attendants welcome passengers on board. Even as members of the cabin crew welcome passengers on board, they perform other silent checks designed to keep us safe. Each flight attendant has been trained to look out for tiny details that might seem a little off. For example, are any passengers behaving in an unusual manner or carrying hand luggage that looks suspicious? In addition, they will be looking at body language. Is someone noticeably scared to be on board? A nervous flyer might need a little extra reassurance during takeoff, landing, or times when the flight might get a little bumpy. Even more importantly, flight attendants will scrutinize passengers' behavior to figure out if anyone trying to board has overdone it at the airport bar, as this could make them aggressive or unpredictable during the flight, right? Nobody likes a drunk passenger. Could ruin the flight for everyone. Because of the implications for safety of all those on board, any passenger disturbances associated with alcohol during a flight are considered serious and must be reported to the FAA. But allowing an intoxicated person on the plane in the first place is also an offense. For flight attendants, it's all part of the job to ensure each flight safely reaches its final destination. And we're always happy too when we land or we get to meet our loved ones and friends safely at the airport. That's it for this episode. Now we know. The more you know, knowledge is power. Please head over to buymeacoffee.com/Samson King. Link will be up in the description. Support the channel if you love the content. Help us provide you with more of the interesting topics that you enjoy. Make sure you like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Thanks for stopping by, as always, and we'll see you next time.